going to go over this, and then what I have to say will address this sheet here. And the data on this sheet is as accurate as I can tell, based on their websites and so forth, their budget numbers and so forth, and these other libraries, towns, similar size, so forth. I have for other data. When you're ready, I will start there.
Go ahead.
Before I start, I just want to state that I believe the Belgrade Public Library is a very special place, thanks to the Friends of the Library and the excellent job Janet does. I will start off by sharing my understanding of how we got to where we are with our library. The Friends of the Library purchased and rebuilt a home for the sole purpose of housing the town library. The cost to do this was approximately $450,000 plus. Then they offered to lease it to the town for $1 a year, with the understanding that it was to be used for library purposes only. As part of this lease agreement, the Penn's Friends pay all expenses to maintain the building, which includes heat, electricity, cleaning, alarms, landscaping, insurance, plowing, all building repairs, etc. The cost is approximately $12,000 per year, which is raised through fundraising by the Friends. We have a fantastic library building to house our collection and operate our public library out of. The Select Board has worked with the library trustees to approve special purchases of office materials, special shelving, and cabinets, etc. that were needed, along with a few special pieces of equipment. Trustees requested a change in hours to provide Saturday hours for those who aren't able to stop in during the week. The Select Board approved and changed as requested. 2 years ago, trustees requested that the Select Board increase hours so that the library director could have health benefits, as town policy doesn't provide health benefits for part-time positions. There was research done and provided, and the request was rejected by the Select Board for several reasons. Now we have a request to increase hours to make it a full-time position. My understanding that more hours are needed to complete the plus the library director is the only part-time department head. To me, it is the same reason as 2 years ago why this request is being made. I did more research, and it is obvious that this request is for an individual's needs, not a need to run our library. I compared our library hours, budgets, and personnel to 4 other towns of similar size. 2 a little larger and 2 a little smaller. 2 of these towns also have a substantial amount of lake properties. The numbers clearly show we have no need to increase our library hours. Data demonstrates that Belgrade is already very generous with our dollars and hours. I can only suggest that all libraries have to file same or similar reports, and this appears to be done with those part-time libraries, some with fewer hours, actually all with fewer hours. If there is a real issue with getting work done, I would suggest extra study and discussion of time management be provided. I also want to point out the fact that I have been on the Select Board for 7 years, 10 months. I have missed 1 meeting, as I recall, in all that time. I have not heard 1 single complaint about access to the library or lack of services from any community people or taxpayers, voters, however you want to label it. As long as I've been on this board, we have not seen or heard, as I recall, any complaints coming into this building about how our library is run or insufficient, hours are not sufficient. The Select Board runs the town. We set all policy, hours of operation, job description, pay scales, benefits, establish and appoint committee members. Committees are to report to the select board. They work for the select board. The town manager works for the select board and administers what the board has set as policies or bylaws, as they are also referred to, and manages the day-to-day activities. Only the select board can change job description, full or part-time, etc., and hours of operation. Only if the board votes to increase hours and make it full-time position can Article 5 go before the voters to approve and fund. The town, I said cannot ask, but should not ask for funding for something that does not exist. And that's the effort I put in this section. And I also asked that one of the directors of the Friends of the Library speak on behalf of some of the statements that I've made in the past that seem to be contradictory. And so I would request to ask that Catherine Brown speak on her thoughts. She's going to speak, she can speak for herself.
Is that all right? Do I have to stand?
You don't have to stand.
Okay. I'm an active member of the Friends of the Library, and I'm also on the board. The Belgrade Library is a wonderful resource for this community, and we take great pride in being able to provide a beautiful home for the library. As Ernie noted, the building expenses for the library building are about $12,000 a year. We have been running between 6 and 8 fundraisers each year to earn the funds to cover these expenses. It has been increasingly difficult to raise those funds as there are so many organizations in town that are also fundraising. Many of our most active members are over 65, so fundraisers can be quite physically taxing, especially book sales, when we're moving 300 boxes of books at a time. It has also been challenging to find additional volunteers to help with the fundraisers. In addition, we have worked to increase the endowment so that in the future, returns from that fund can supplement the monies earned through fundraisers. We had heard of the proposal to increase the use of the library building, although to my knowledge, the library trustees did not contact the Friends to determine our opinion on the resulting additional cost of operating the building. The board of the Friends of the Library decided to remain neutral. Of course, there have been discussions among members of the Friends, and the vast majority of those I have spoken with see no need for increased hours. I do not normally travel Depot Road. However, when I have noticed that the parking lot is frequently empty. Please carefully consider this proposal and its effects on an organization that has worked so tirelessly to provide the library building to the town at the great expense of $1 per year. I believe that this is not a genuine need for the town, and it must not be approved.
May I have speak to?
Just a second, please. Go ahead, Ernie.
I would just like to say that 2 years ago, the Friends of the Library sat out there and supported what was being requested. This year, they are not present. They're not present. That says what it says. I'm just expressing something. And to me, the data that we have provided is pretty accurate.
Yes.
Diane Dow, Chairman of the Library Trustees. To clarify, yes, we did not speak with the Friends Board about this, but I have spoken to Friends about this. I was under the impression, which may be incorrect, that the operation of the library hours and so forth comes to the town, that this is the town's responsibility. The Friends do a fantastic job maintaining the library, but the actual operations and anything involving personnel is a town decision relating back to the town manager and the select board. The Friends don't really have a say in hiring or maintaining the personnel. One of the reasons we were asking for additional hours is we'd like to increase programming. We've gotten several funds that are available for us. The LeBun Estate left money for funds for programming, and so did the Maggie Snyder Fund. Both of these funds are for specific programs. They do not include administration cost. So anything that Janet has to do for these funds comes out of her time and consequently the town's time. That's one of the reasons, plus a lot of the other administrative things that go on, as in any good organization, as in our town hall. You don't see those. In any organization that's running to peak capacity, you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. If it's running well, you don't even question that. Janet's reports and all of her data and all of her budgets have always been exemplary. We've even complimented her on that. That when we had our budget changes over to the different accounts, she was always up to date and correct on all of her figures. There's no question that she's doing a very good job over there. The number of hours has not expanded in 5 years, and if we felt it was time to let the library grow, it won't be able to continue with the services and level that we have now if we can't increase hours. We'd like to have more programs for elderly and older people who do not drive at night. And the only way to do that would be to increase a time when they can come to the library. I myself covered the library while Janet was away during lunchtime for Jared, the other employee there. Every single day, and this was out that he was working during the Christmas season, which is a notoriously slow time, I had people coming in. And there weren't cars in the driveway. There were people that were dropped off, students and so forth. So you can't rely on how many cars you see there. It's also a business or department where people come and go quickly. You don't always know in town hall how many people are visiting based on the number of cars. So I don't really think that's a good standard. Also, when you brought up your data, did you ask what was their circulation figures? How many visits do they have to the library? These are all very important numbers that should be included along with how many employees and how big the town is.
Any more discussion? Janet?
I apologize, I came in midway because the library was open until 6 o'clock and I was working alone, so I missed part of your statement. I do apologize. I did want to address something that Kathy said. Although the trustees did not go to the Friends to consult them on this, I did go to both presidents and to the treasurer to discuss with them and say what would be the impact on the Friends. The only thing that they could think of was electricity for 1 extra day, and possibly the heating for 1 extra day, and if we decided to have cleaning for that 1 extra day. Looking at their figures and balancing it out for how many days that we're open now versus the cost for those things, they came up with it would be an extra $300 to $350 a year that having an extra day a week open would cost the Friends. That is so minute.
Any more discussion? I have a motion on the floor to accept Article 5 as rewritten. Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor? 3, all those opposed? 2, 3 to 2, it carries. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's have another vote for the select board. All those recommending, please raise your hands. 2, all those not recommending. 3. Recommending.
Which committee recommending?
3. 3.
Not recommending.
3 and 1?
1.
3 and 1, okay. 2 absent, yes.
Correct.
Okay, the next in our books, let's see here. Article 22, to see if the town will raise $45,905 and appropriate $6,945 for the income of the cemetery trust for the total sum of $52,850 to support costs of operation and maintenance of Belgrade cemeteries for 2018. Itemized requirements are as follows. Personal wages and benefits, $32,500. Service and contracts, $39,770. Supplies and materials, $63,50. Equipment and repairs, $8,030. Unclassified, $600. Flowers, $1,400 for a total of $52,850. Can I hear a
Make a motion.
move that we accept it? Any second? And we have a second. Any discussion on this article? I think this article was lacking numbers last time, am I correct? Yeah.
I also sent a note to I think everybody, indicating that I think we, for accuracy, we should change some wording in that. And I believe, I don't know, I've got a copy on my desk of the email. I don't know if you all got it.
Yeah, I did.
But it may seem picky, but if you look at both Article 22 and 24, there's dissimilar wording, and I think that they both should be changed to reflect the fact that there is no such thing as the cemetery trust. There are multiple funds that make up the resources that the cemetery can draw from. And so my suggested wording would be that it say that from the income of the cemetery trusts for a total sum of X number of dollars. In both of those articles.
Just trusts? Put an S on the end of trust?
Cemetery, from the income of the cemetery trust, because we're, in 24, we talk about income, and in 22, it talks about the income of the cemetery trust. So I would say it should be the income of the cemetery trusts.
As I read it, both of them read that way. Income of the cemetery trust. The 24.
Did you edit that?
On the end of the cemetery.
I'm saying put an S on the end of it.
Okay, so that's already been,
Yeah.
Melanie, help me out here, did you reword that?
What I think happened, if I can, when Anthony prepared the summary sheet for the 9 articles that you were addressing, he left off the S.
Yeah, looks like I left off an S.
And in the kind of summary packet here of the full referendum articles, Melanie added the S, right? Well, Anthony added the S. He just left it off on this side.
So 22 and 24 have an S in it.
They-
22 does not.
So this one, in the article, the copy I have does not have.
It does not. That's the one I was saying.
So yes, it should be
In this one it does.
in that,
Yeah, but
okay, I don't know which
That's a
one.
hand.
Okay, let's figure out what we're doing here. Huh? Okay.
What's that one you got?
Proposed, we're gonna work off the one in our binders of the proposed 287 warrant article requiring action. And as I understand it, what we wanna do is add an S after cemetery trust.
Okay.
Am I correct?
Yes.
If I'm correct, we have a motion to accept and a second, Article 22. Is there any more discussion? Jack?
Yeah, I would just raise the question, why is it necessary to involve the trust in this article? Why not just bring this out of the cemetery account and having the money from the cemetery trust flow into the cemetery account as it already does? This article has been repeated now. I look back to 2010, and it's the same article that just comes up every year. It's a creature of habit.
But there isn't a cemetery. There isn't a cemetery.
Yeah, I suspect if we have it here, it could be worked on probably for the next one, but unless there's a lot of angst about the way it's worded. Are we okay? All those in favor of Article 22? All those recommending Article 22? It's 5 and 5. Budget Committee, please.
Recommend?
4.
Four is 2 absent.
Article 24, to see if the town will raise 2,500 and appropriate 2,500 for the income of the cemetery trusts for a total of $5,000 in place of the cemetery capital waterline reserve. Can I get a motion to accept that, please? It's moved and seconded. Any discussion on Article 24?
We're just adding yes to it, right?
Added yes, yes. Seeing none, all those in favor? All those recommending? Budget Committee?
4 absent.
4 and 2 absent. Article 28, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $184,222 to support town facility maintenance. I'm not going to read the columns. This was, we're redoing this one because we didn't have the actual numbers. These are the actuals. They are the actuals. Can I get a motion to accept that?
So yes.
Moved and seconded. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to accept that. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 28? You have a question? You have a question? Yes.
What is the $500 for maintenance at the library?
Security.
Thank you.
Are there any more comments or questions? Select Board, all those in favor? All those recommending? It's 5, not recommending? Recommending?
I'm recommending.
Okay. It's 5 and 5.
Budget Committee?
I assume in voting for this, this is subject to the reversal of the columns.
Yeah, the columns have to be reversed, that was in error.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out.
218 should be on the right. Okay. Budget Committee, is that 4-4? All right. Article 30, to see if the town will appropriate the sum of $32,500 for the Recreation Capital Reserve account for the following project for the Center for All Seasons: painting, staining, and repair for the outside of the Center for All Seasons, $22,000. Upgrade for repair of the pool, $7,500. Replace security cameras, $3,000 for a total of $32,500.
I never reread this one.
There is a rewrite?
Yes, this is the one we broken apart. Because of the site.
Okay, okay.
You want it that way?
Yes.
That's what's gonna be the.
His email at the front of you, the yes copy, where he took it off.
Where did you have that?
All right, let's, Article 30, as rewritten, to see if the town will appropriate the sum of $10,500 for the recreational capital reserve account for the following projects at the Center for All Seasons: upgrade and repair the pool, $7,500. Replace security cameras, $3,000. There'll be an additional article to see if the town will authorize the Board of Select Person to investigate the most cost-effective approach to the long-term maintenance of the exterior of the Center for All Seasons, and then allow them to expend the amount of money for the Recreation Capital Reserve necessary to implement that approach. So we have 2 Article 30s and another article.
You got a hand upside you.
Pardon? Yeah.
I don't think I just wanted to explain what happened here. We put that in for $22,500 for the staining, and then the issue came up about, well, maybe that's not the most cost-effective approach. So we tried. Gary just couldn't get the numbers together, and there's going to have to be a lot of discussion with other members of the community, the rec board, and all that to determine what would be the best approach. So I thought, and I proposed in an email to you guys, that we would separate the articles out, get what we really needed, and then put a question to the floor for the town to ask them whether or not they would authorize the board to look at the most cost-effective approach. Would staining every so many years at $22,500 estimated this year with the repairs be the most cost-effective approach, or should we do something else? Price, and then you would investigate that and make the determination of what approach you want to use, and then they would, based on your analysis and all of that, then you would be asking the board to, the town to approve you going forward with whichever one you thought was most cost effective. So that's essentially what I tried to say in this article.
So, so in other words, we're not gonna do anything to the building this year?
No, we would, it depends on how quickly that analysis goes forward. If it goes forward quickly after the town meeting, then you could essentially hire someone to do that, because the town would have, if they approve this, give you the authority to move forward with the most cost-effective approach, either the staining or the...
Don't we have to put a number in there though?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is we don't know the number. That's why I was trying to word it so you would look at it, investigating the most, we don't have a number for that.
But we can't, I don't know.
Well, the question is, can we do that without a number?
Right.
That's your
That's the
question.
question.
I just don't know. I mean, we don't have a number.
I
The
don't,
money's gonna come out of the reserve account.
Come out of the
right?
reserve account.
And isn't the select board authorized to
Yes.
spend money out of the reserve account without town approval?
yes, so yeah.
They can, but my understanding was you would like to have some,
It's
And
usually a
an
courtesy.
informational meeting would be very appropriate, but it doesn't prohibit the concept from being voted on.
right, that's what I was thinking.
It mainly just has to be.
Well, should the article then said with any money required to be taken from the reserve account?
That's what it says.
Yeah, that's what I thought it said. I did put that in.
Expend the amount of money from the recreation capital reserve necessary to implement that
All
approach.
right, I'm fine with it then, if that's in there. I missed that.
So do you want to withdraw your
Yeah.
motion? Motion's withdrawn. You want to make another motion to accept
Yes.
Article 30 and the proposed article?
We gotta do them separate.
All right, Article 30
Yes.
for the two. Okay, is there a second there? Moved and seconded. Any more discussion on this?
Total amount of Article 30 now is?
10,500. 10,500, that includes an upgrade to repair the pool and replace the security cameras.
Okay, I don't have any paperwork that shows that article,
Well,
but
it
that's
was,
okay. I guess
Didn't
you
you get that off the,
Printing of the email, you've got the email.
Yeah, it's that one right
You
there.
got a copy of the email.
Right, it was in the email.
yeah, it's at the bottom and then it's
Okay.
the,
Okay, I have a motion to accept Article 30. Any more discussion? Select Board, all those in favor? Those recommending? 5 and 5?
Which committee recommending?
Okay, 4? Yep.
in this next article.
Now, the article to follow that is to see if the town will authorize the Board of Select Persons to investigate the most cost-effective approach to the long-term maintenance of the exterior of the Center for All Seasons, and then allow them to expend the amount of money from the recreational capital reserve necessary to implement that approach. In other words, find out what it's gonna cost, and then do the work.
I'll make that motion.
And it's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion on this, Mr. Barrett?
How will we number this? Gonna be 30A or something? like that?
No, it'll be 31, and then we'll move all the other articles up one number. It'll be, that's a, it's a
Okay, thank you.
clerical.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? All those recommending? And Budget Committee? 4, thank you. All right, back to the other sheet. Article 30 is changed. Article 31, to proceed with voting the following questions, shall the town of Belgrade vote to dissolve the Building and Grounds Capital Reserve established by Article 6 of the 2013 Town of Belgrade meeting warrant, with any funds in the account to be placed in the Town Facilities Capital Reserve established by Article 42 of the 2017 Town of Belgrade meeting warrant. The reserve to be funded by income generated from the rental of 8 and 10 Dalton, and 50% of any revenue generated by the sale of foreclosed property pursuant to Article 6 of the 2013 town meeting warrant, and Article 42 in the 2017 town meeting warrant.
That ought to draw some
Oh,
questions.
God.
Well, I put the warrant articles in to clarify that these were the warrant articles that.
I know what you did, but I'm just saying, when it gets to town meeting, this is gonna be an article, they're gonna ask a lot of questions. Just because there's so much,
Yeah,
but I'll make a motion, we
Is there a second to that motion? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on Article 31? Seeing no discussion. Select Board, all those in favor? All those recommending? 5 and 5. Budget Committee.
We don't have a space.
Oh, you guys, that's right, you don't. Article 39, to see if the town will raise and appropriate $85,573 to pay general liability and casualty, workers' compensation, unemployment, and health reimbursement, administration fees for the municipal employees. I believe this was one we didn't have the numbers for.
Wow, it's quite an increase, huh?
It is an increase.
11,000.
Was this one we didn't have numbers for?
It was the one that we were discussing,
Oh,
the
for us.
HRA, whether or not we were going to accept the 40%.
Remember, there's the 40% versus the 100. And I do have information on the experience over the last 4
Because
years.
last year we didn't budget the HRA at all in here. That's why part of the reason why it's increased.
So the reason why I I recommended going with the 40% of the total versus the 100% is because in 2014, out of the total that was to be expended, we only used $6,413. 2015 was approximately $11,000. 2016 was $7,000. And 2017 was $8,500 roughly. So when you look at the total cost, going to 40% would give us, of the total, would give us about 16,000, I think it was. And that's what we put in this. If you accept that 40%.
So that 16 is added to the workers' comp.
Well, it's added to the total.
Yeah, okay.
It's gonna be another good discussion item, but I make a motion, we accept it.
Moved and seconded, we accepted. Any discussion on Article 39? All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed, 4-4. All those recommending?
I did not vote against it. You didn't give me-
Already voted against it. 4-4, and all those not recommending? 1. Article 40, to see if the town will authorize designate.
Does the budget committee?
Budget Committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Budget Committee, please.
Recommend?
4,
Yep.
4-4. Article 40, to see if the town will authorize, designate, or release the collective sum of $14,056 as dictated by the following trusts and funds. Authorize use of the Don C. Stevens Fund for the public schools in Belgrade, $14,056. Total article is $14,056.
I'll make a motion.
Moved, we accept it. Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this article? Mr. Barrett?
Just a question, the article is for 14,056, requested is 13,000. Why is the difference?
I'm not sure that that's an accurate amount. Where did the 13,000 come from, Melanie?
I'm sorry.
Where did the 13,000 request? My understanding is that you have gotten both the Guptill and the Stevens reports from the committees of the school. The numbers that I gave them were the 14,056.
Oh, so this.
Where did the
13,000.
requested 13 come from? Is that
2018.
from old report?
It was, yes, it probably just wasn't changed.
Okay, so
14,056.
So it should be
14,056.
yeah, the
yes.
request and the proposed amount should be the same.
Okay? We're good?
Now,
Yes.
that raises the question, if ever a committee doesn't want to or can't use as much money as the trust produces, do we have a mechanism to deal with that, or do we force the money on them?
So,
Can they return it?
Yeah, go ahead.
so your question is, should a committee that gets funds out of this combined trust, should they say, look, we know we got interest of 14,000, but we only have projects that expend 6,000?
Yeah,
And your question is, what do you do with?
and how is that handled?
I would assume, unless you have a better answer.
I have the answer.
Well, I'm gonna let her answer.
What's the answer?
It's, we don't give them the money right up front, but so at the end of the year, we've expended the money out of the general fund, And then once we know exactly how much is expended out of the general fund for all the projects, then we take the money out of our harbor banking trust and refund the general fund the exact amount that was expended. And the rest of the money just stays right in our harbor banking trust.
Is that a policy now that's written, because that policy would apply to each one of these?
It is, any trust, that's how it's done at the end of the year, once it's expended, then we take it out.
But I don't think there's a written policy on it. I think it's tradition. Tradition.
Is that something that would be appropriate for the board to deal with in terms of a written policy?
We can do that.
Yeah, we can set up a policy. I know we don't have a policy of that, so.
And then the second question that will arise is, if the requested amount is less than the amount that's produced by the trust,
Then they only get the amount produced.
they get the amount that's requested. But does the difference carry over into future years, or does it expire?
If I understand your question, if the requested amount, if the amount that's produced by the fund is less than the requested amount, do they get the requested amount?
No, your question was
No,
greater.
no, my question is not that. They get what they request if it's less than the amount that the trust produces.
I don't think they can request any more than what the trust
No,
produces.
I'm not suggesting that
His
they would
question is
request
if
it.
he uses less than,
Oh, if they actually use less than what was.
If they use less, does the difference carry forward, or does it expire at the end of the year?
It expires at the end of the year, then they request another one.
but it remains in
remains
the
in the
trust, and it just sits there.
But does it remain as the part of the principal of the trust, or does it remain as income that is expendable? That's one of the questions that some of the people asked at the school. They're saying if we have $1,000 left over this year, can we count on $1,000 of additional next year for maybe a bigger project or something? And
I'm going to guess it's the income, because you can only spend the income, so we take it out of the income.
But
10% of it is reinvested, that can't be touched.
And
Seems
what
to me
happens to any surplus
We need a
income?
policy on this, we don't have one.
That's
Exactly.
the key. That's the key.
Dan?
Yeah, well, that was kind of my question too, is because I'm looking at last year's request, which was 15,175. The actual was 14,378. So they had money left over that they could use. It's still interest. It's leftover interest, but it's still interest. Shouldn't that be on the request for this year too?
Well, that's the question. That's not the way it's
Yeah.
been handled in the past, from what I understand Melanie saying.
Right, but it's still interest, it's not
And
principal.
I don't think
so-
we've ever changed the method of paying it. So the question is, the issue, I think, is that the board, we need to develop a policy, probably working with the budget committee and the board, to address that issue in the future.
Rick?
That wasn't a true number last year anyways, correct? It was something what we thought it was for earnings in that.
It was not, it was a true number that we voted on, but it was not what the actual earnings were from the previous year.
It was a guesstimate, basically. Because we didn't know for sure.
We didn't know. It was unclear, but that was what they requested, so we honored their request. But this year, it's
That's a true number.
It's a true number, it's an accurate
Fine.
number of the principles that are established in the guidelines that you approved during the year last year.
I would think, any more questions or discussion? I think we're probably going to vote on this with the stipulation that a policy be developed to cover what happens to that money, so. Seeing no more, yeah, Jack, go ahead.
Does in voting here, does the $13,000 figure go away from this article?
It does.
Yes.
It becomes 14,056.
That was a leftover number. that-
Select board, all those in favor?
It's like we voted.
All those recommending?
Says here we already voted.
Yeah,
Did we vote?
no,
Well, it's printed that we
in the
did.
book, it still shows we
Oh,
voted.
5 and 5.
Yeah.
Budget committee.
Budget committee, 4 and 2.
Article 43, to proceed with voting the following question, shall the town of Belgrade raise and appropriate an additional $20,666.74 as its portion of the cost of constructing an additional 500 linear feet of new sidewalk and to increase road widths in order to create legal parking locations throughout the Belgrade Village area for a total cost of $60,000. Moved and second, we accept that. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, select board, all those in favor? It's 5. All those recommending? It's 5. Budget committee? 4. 2 absent.
Question?
Yes.
Did we skip a couple?
Did we? I thought we hit every one of them.
I think we do.
Okay, let me back up a second then on a question that I have relative to the Guptill Fund. Currently, there's a article for the Guptill Fund for next year, that's not a problem. But currently, there is money sitting in an account, a checking account at the school for the Guptill Fund. I have talked to the principal, and she's in complete agreement, as the conversation I had with Melanie, that those monies really should be in the town accounts and tracked just the way the DC Stevens is. My question is, do you want to have take a formal action on that, or do you want me to just ask Glenn Bacon to cut a check made out to the town of Belgrade and move the monies back over here to the town treasury?
You want to vote on that?
I would recommend, I mean, it's up to you folks, but I'd recommend there be an actual vote on that, to have it done. I mean, it's as simple as the board need, I think, should.
I could not determine in our conversations how it came to be that those monies were given to the school in a lump sum, and then they administer them, which is totally in contradiction to the way we do it with any of the other trusts. But they're perfectly happy to get it squared away and have it all come back.
Does the original Guptill Fund, as it was set up, does it say that? I mean, you guys
No.
reviewed those, no, if it doesn't say that, then I would say just vote.
No, there
Melanie,
was a
you know
different,
why it's like that?
I don't know that.
You don't know?
I say, in looking back, we couldn't find anybody that could identify, we looked through old town reports to try to identify how that particular quirk was created, and I don't have an answer. But it would be cleaner if you make a motion to do that.
Yeah, I got it, yeah.
So, is that all the articles now?
That's all the articles.
So,
We
now.
need a motion to accept the money from Belgrade Central for the Guptill Fund, is that? And I have a motion, I'll second it. Any discussion on that, gentlemen? All those in favor? 4, 1 absent.
Now I have a question.
Well, I was trying to get my hand up before. There is one more article, and that's the LD1 article. And now we've got the actual numbers, I can bring the article, I'm going to prepare it tomorrow. But you can do that next week if you want.
All right. My question is,
Yeah.
how much of an increase is this year's budget over last year?
She doesn't have it yet.
I'm assuming it's gonna be what chunk?
It's going to be,
$110,000,
Yeah.
I remember.
How much?
How much?
About 110,000,
More than it was last year?
more than it was last year. I think it was.
Well, we probably want to deal with the real numbers, not.
Yeah. I don't want guesstimates.
Yeah.
I'll get you that number tomorrow, and I'll get you the LD1 article tomorrow. Okay?
Chad?
Yeah. Question, back to the trust funds, sorry to beat it to death. But in the Bar Harbor Trust report, we have the V.C. Stevens Fund, big one, cemetery portfolio, there's another perpetual care one I have to get my arms around, I don't totally understand that. There's a Don C. Stevens Fund for academic awards, there's a Guy Yetton Cemetery Trust Fund, LaCroix Cemetery Trust Fund, and now we've talked about the Robert Guptill Fund. I don't think we have an article dealing with the smaller funds. And in my way of thinking, it would be useful to put all of these in a table, tabulate them, show what the prior year's earnings are from the Bar Harbor Trust, take the 10% out, show the amount available of $14,056 that we've talked about. If it's a different amount, a lesser amount requested, show that. Show who it's payable to, who is the authorized recipient, and then an indication of what's retained in the fund. And then total it all up, because the same questions apply to all of them, and then just have one vote on the trust fund distributions.
Comments? Yeah.
This is all coming up kind of suddenly. I don't mean to be critical. We are voting on on all of these through different articles. My concern is that we would do a table like this and I'd work with the treasurer or whoever you would like us to work with in order to put that into the town report and the body of the report as information, as opposed to trying to classify this as a warrant. We really approved, when I said cemetery trusts, that includes all the smaller cemetery trusts as well as the larger one, and the other ones are clearly spelled out in other warrant articles. So I'm not sure why you're saying a warrant article, Jack.
It's just one place to look at them all in relation to one another, and then vote on one vote on the whole works in one place.
Are they suggesting taking out all the other articles?
Yeah.
Removing all the other articles?
Well, I think we're where we're at right now. To me, I don't think we're gonna go, next year, that may be a good idea to do that.
That's
But
fine.
this year, I think we have been over all the articles, and we have our votes and recommendations down. Denny does have an LD1 article coming. And he'll
That'll
look at
just
this
specify
tomorrow.
just the amount over and what the limit is.
And he's told us what the increase over last year's, or he'll tell us what the increase over last year's is gonna be. I think we have one more agenda item, and that is the warrant for tonight. Have we got the warrant? So Barrett, can you read the warrant, please?
Warrant 156, the amount of $61,048.16.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it. Are there questions or comments on the warrant? I had one, but it got answered already.
I guess I do.
Yeah,
I couldn't.
same thing.
The commercial divers, did we pay them? We've already paid them once, are we paying them again?
Yeah, they were brought back to put the stone in and smooth it out. And that's coming out of the dams fund.
Okay. How come we haven't got a bill from Warren Brothers?
We talked about that at the dam committee on Monday night. They just haven't sent the bill.
Okay. No, I was looking for it just to see what.
Any more questions on the warrant? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to accept it. All those in favor? 5-4, warrants accepted. That. I'll do it. Now? What do you got?
In order to post a hearing, of course, you have to, municipal officers have to post it and sign it, and it's attached to the warrant, like every year. And the one thing I want to let you know is that last week we tried to get dates set up. We couldn't get dates set up, and we set them on tonight and, for this meeting, and then next Tuesday night is when you're going to have the public hearing. The public hearing, there's a requirement in Title 38 that says it has to be posted at least 7 days prior to. I talked to the attorney at the MMA. They said, yeah, that is a requirement, but there's no compelling language in it other than saying it's absolute. There's a penalty if you don't do it. And she didn't think, it was Becky Seal, she didn't think that that 1 day would affect that. So when you sign this, it says 7 days. I I would put 6 days because you're testing. And we move forward that way.
Do we really want to do that? Don't we want to do what Rayla says, the 7 days?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, we couldn't get.
I think 7 days is,
I've got a real problem messing with those
Yeah,
numbers,
yeah.
and somebody challenges, no, 7 days.
Okay, so then when do you want to have the public hearing?
Well, it's gotta be 7 days, somewhere's after that. I mean, I just.
I hear you.
what's your drop dead date for the town office that you need to have this by?
Well, we have the warrant now, it just hasn't gone to public hearing, so we can move forward with that.
Make it next Wednesday?
You can do it next Wednesday, or,
That's 7 days.
and I'm really sorry about that. I just missed the count, and we were talking about it, and I said, geez, it looks like that would work.
It shouldn't put us out of schedule.
It won't put us on a schedule with the annual report, it's just, it's an extra meeting for you, and I know we were trying to work one meeting, and
Let's get it done, in my mind. Can I have a motion to do that next Wednesday?
Yes, I'm ready.
And it's moved, I got a second? Moved and second, we have our public meeting 7 days from now. All those in favor? Let's do it.
oh, yes, it was needed.
Do you,
We'll get these.
Mr.
Next
Chairman,
Wednesday.
before we read that, do you think we ought to go into executive session for 2 minutes on this, and,
The author, want to go to executive session, or?
Well, I'll put it this way. What I've written there, I think needs to be said and heard.
All right.
And I would accept, visit back to have a serious and open conversation. I have put in a lot of time and effort.
I don't have a problem if we're gonna do that, but I just.
Why don't you put it up? You don't need to read it.
Okay.
You just know it, and I.
Well, okay, but I'll tell you what, just at some point, at your convenience, you set up an executive session. I want to have a dead-ass serious conversation because I need to know what the hell responsibility this select board is going to be and if we're going to do what we're supposed to do.
All right, we'll set up a executive session to do that.
I'll go along with that. I'd like to, I think that's
At the
fair.
next meeting, because we're not holding the public hearing.
Yes, that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. I hate to be a pain in the ass,
No.
but you know what? I have to live with this myself. And I want to finally, possibly, clear the air. There is nothing that happens in this room that I take home and hold personal, other than the fact that how some of the things that seem to be done end up being what I feel is inappropriate, and we could have done better ways of handling it. And I want to make sure in the future those ways are handled. And then there's still no guarantee. I pretty much.
I just want to put this to bed, but I want to make it a fair shot, because I don't want to lose.
You want me to hold on to this till next?
Yes.
I got it, all right.
You see it, it's public information.
No, I said it'll be open only after.
Yeah,
It's not.
What was the animal say?
please open after warrant.
Okay.
Please take that.
If he wants, we'll hold on to it, I'll hold on to it till the next, till we go into executive session, and then leave it at that point, I think.
I have no problems with the chair sharing it with the board.
Okay.
And the town meeting. It doesn't need to be public information at this point.
All right, we've got the right dates.
I have a question.
Ernie?
Originally, we had the public hearing before or after our select board meeting on the 16th, next Tuesday. That was to start at 6?
Yes.
Is our regular meeting starting at 6:30?
I think that now that the public hearing is posted, is going to the following day, we just go to a regular meeting and we'll have the executive session after the meeting.
At 6:30.
That's easier to clear the room out and all.
Yeah. Just a moment.
So it's gonna be 6:30 on the 17th?
On the 16th.
No, the
The
regular meeting.
regular select board meeting will be 6:30 on the 16th
But the public hearing
Public
is
hearing will be
6:30
the
or
next
6?
night
at 6.
at 6.
At 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the only real things that have to go to public hearing are the referendum questions, and not the all the warrant articles. But we'll have those open for people to ask questions.
Fine.
So 16th at 6:30, 17th at 6.
No, we're going on.
Yeah, sign that is the warrant?
No, this is the,
Public hearing is moved.
this is the warrant.
It's something else.
Well, that is an abatement that's already been accepted, it just needs to be signed.
Okay, so.
I'll sign it.
Everything's pretty much set.
I believe that concludes our meeting. Can I get a,
I'll make that motion.
yeah, it's going to be adjourned. Is there a second?
Yes.
Move the second, and all those in favor? We are adjourned.
Thank you. Now,